Welcome to the Straightforward Connection with Tommy. This video is on your Monday Night Raw results and Superstar spoilers for this week. And as usual, some WWE news and wrestling news around the world. First episode of WWE reality show Total Divas will be replayed after Raw on July 29th on the USA Network, and it will be the premiere on E! Network on July 28th. And thanks to Gal XC from one of the dirt sheets. And it is called Welcome to the WWE. The Monday Night replay is only listed for the first week. Thanks to twitter.com/below the belt for the following notes on Raw in Baltimore, Maryland from earlier this evening. There was a semi-decent plot for the Wyatt family. People were paying attention to the Wyatts. The biggest pop went to Daniel Bryan with Randy Orton and CM Punk tied in crowd reaction. And Jay and Mark Briscoe attended a WWE live event in Ocean City, Maryland, according to the various Twitter posts. Correspondents from the Ocean City event did not see the ROH stars. My guess is that they are trying to stir up some online buzz for Ring of Honor, but that's purely speculation. More importantly, congrats to Jay Briscoe and his wife, as he noted on Twitter yesterday that she gave birth to a 9.7-pound baby. WWE conducted an investigation stemming from claims made by former developmental workers regarding NXT head trainer Bill DeMott. Chase Donovan and Chad Baxter appeared on a recent 2.5 Wrestlers podcast hosted by Kevin Matthews, and the trio told a secondary story about DeMott pulling out a gun in front of a trainee. A first-hand account of DeMott using a homophobic slur during training sessions and made other accusations as well. There have been no sexual harassment complaints filed against any employee at the WWE's training facility in Orlando. Reads a statement issued to ProWrestling.net by WWE. Instead, there have been baseless allegations made by disgruntled talent recently released by WWE. Regardless, WWE takes these issues seriously and investigates this matter, concluding that there were no wrongdoings. It's one thing to complain publicly about such matters after the fact, but this would carry more weight if the former developmental wrestlers had filed complaints while they were still under contract. I know it's easier said than done, because the mentality of the developmental performers is to avoid rocking the boat. Yes, as it stands, WWE officials clearly view the complaints as sour grapes rather than valid. The dark match main event from tonight's Raw was listed as John Cena versus Ryback in a tables match for the WWE Championship. Very similar to the last several months of championship matches. Happy birthday goes to former developmental talent Richie Steamboat, aka Richard Blood Jr., celebrated his 26th birthday on Sunday. He was born July 7th, 1987. Steamboat had been sidelined for several months with back injury that required surgery. Mondo Guerrero celebrated his 61st birthday on Sunday. He was born July 7th, 1962. Mondo is the second oldest son of Gory Guerrero and is the brother of Chavo Guerrero Sr., Petra Guerrero, and Eddie Guerrero. Canadian Wrestling Elite ran on July 5th in Transcona at Rookie Sports Bar with the following results. TV champion Bobby Collins defeated Moses Luke. Corey Kincaid and JJ Sanchez defeated Kevin Cannon and the Mystery Client. Tyler Colton defeated Chevy Chevy. Danny Duggan defeated Tyson Moore. Robbie Royce defeated Rick Matthews to retain the CWE title. Cannibal defeated Sidney Manson and Brian Rich in a three-way dance, and AJ Sanchez defeated Blake Broadway. CWE will be in Winnipeg on August 23rd with Val Venus. For more info on upcoming shows, visit cwecanada.ca. The 30-minute classic UWF wrestling show aired on ESPN Classic tonight at 8:30 Central Time. The advertised talent included Bob Orton Jr. and Steve, Dr. Death Williams. The classic AWA show will return tomorrow night. Former WWE wrestler Scotty 2 Hotty, a.k.a. Scott Garland, turned 40 years old. He was born July 2nd, 1973. Garland recently made headlines for graduating from the Lake Check Fire Academy in Tavares, Florida. He still takes occasionally indie bookings in addition to working as a firefighter. WWE referee Charles Robinson turned 49 years old. He was born July 2nd, 1964. He had been working as a referee in the industry since 1997. The late Mike DiBiase died on this date in 1989. He died in the ring when he suffered a heart attack, though he was officially pronounced dead at the hospital. He is the adoptive father of the WWE Hall of Famer Ted DiBiase and the grandfather of current WWE wrestler Ted DiBiase Jr. The following matches were listed for the 11 p.m. Central airing time of the AWA on ESPN Classic. Colonel De Beers versus Rev. Pappas, Doug Summers, and Buddy Rose versus Hernandez and White. Shawn Michaels versus Buddy Rose. The Barbarian versus Sergeant Slaughter. And the show has a tape listing from April 20th, 1986. Then the following matches are listed for the 12 a.m. airing time of AWA on ESPN Classic. Marty Jannetty versus Jake Milliman. Curtis versus White. Doug Summers versus Scott Hall. Mongolian Stomper. Barbarian and Boris Zukov versus Kurt Hennig. Jerry Blackwell and Sergeant Slaughter were in action. And the 1 a.m. showing of AWA on ESPN Classic, Greg Gockney versus Glover. Doug Summers and Buddy Rose versus Fields and Crenshaw. Larry the Living Legend Zbyszko versus Sweat. Or Sweet. Kurt Hennig versus Tab. Nick Bockwinkel versus Boris Zukov for the AWA titles on the show. And that was had the tape listing as of from September 8th, 1986. Former WWE Diva, current Ring of Honor star Maria Kanellis claims that the Bella twins were the reason that she was blocked from returning to WWE in recent. And she's commented by saying, quote, I was offered a WWE contract and the Bellas made sure I did not get it. Unquote. And this was done earlier today as Maria tweeted on Monday night. After all, I'm not bitter, just don't like people that mess with my career. Maria later said that that's enough time talking about the Bellas before plugging Ring of Honor television. Maria concluded, if you don't speak up, you're part of the problem. I'd rather be lady made than man made. Hashtag First Lady, God takes care of everyone, and He is the final judge. Unquote. As covered by DivaDirt.com, Maria and several other former divas were initially offered short-term deals to return at this year's WrestleMania. However, plans were scrapped for a past Diva storyline that would have culminated at Mania. Also cut was the Bellas mixed tag match on the day of the pay-per-view. WWE officials are not done with Ryback, and internally he's still seen as a main event talent. He's expected to defeat Y2J at the Money in the Bank, and is what is called another stepping stone for him. While Daniel Bryan versus John Cena has been discussed for SummerSlam, there are others pushing for Cena to defend against Mark Henry and Ryback in a triple threat match. After Raw went off the air, WWE set up the bonus main event of John Cena versus Ryback that was advertised. And I'll go with that later on. During a commercial break, Daniel Bryan and Charles Robinson talked a lot before Bryan faced Sheamus. Also, Seth Rollins posed around the ring with his tag title belt during a break before the Shield tag match. Nice touch not having Dean Ambrose involved in the segment. There were lots of clips on the WWE Raw history and the Total Diva show starring the Bellas during the commercial breaks. One side of the 300 level was tarped off. I'd say the crowd was roughly around 10,000, maybe less. Loudest spots were CM Punk, close with Daniel Bryan coming in second, and then John Cena falling up third, and McMahon fourth. So here the rankings can be flipped around. 5, Randy Orton. Y2J, 6. Number 7, the Wyatt. And Fandango is number 8. And rounding up the top 10, Ziggler was number 9, and Sheamus was last. Most Hill Heat. Vicky Guerrero, number 1. Of course, Mark Henry, number 2. Heyman, number 3. Major drop from here, Cesaro, Coulter, Swagger. From 4 in the Superstars. The Shield, not usual reaction since they've been cooled off, and little to no reactions for Curtis Axel, Del Rio, or Christian. Power lifter Adam Big Country Share, who is listed as 6'7", starts with developmental this week. The wrestling legend Bobby Eaton is expected to have a pacemaker installed to help his cardiac issues within the next week. As promised, I did say that I would get some more news on Bobby Eaton's condition. And this was it so far. Speaking of WWE developmental, the new Performance Center will hold its grand opening this Wednesday. Former TNA WWE wrestler Low Key is not retiring from in-ring competition. In fact, he is scheduled to wrestle for Right Coast Pro Wrestling on Saturday, July 13th in Newark, Delaware. As seen on tonight's Raw from Baltimore, the Bella Twins were on commentary for the Divas tag match. Apparently, Nikki Bella has an injury, and she came out during a commercial break wearing crutches. And they recently posted a photo of Nikki in a wheelchair with her boyfriend, John Cena. And you can look for that on the WWE website. After being attacked by the Wyatt family on tonight's Raw, Kane was escorted to the back on a stretcher. Stone Cold offered some advice to CM Punk during Punk's match with Randy Orton on tonight's Raw. Has also tweeted, at CM Punk, lay your shit in, bro. It's TV. Hashtag WWE, hashtag Raw. And the spoilers for WWE taping of Baltimore, Maryland for Superstars. Justin Gabriel defeated Justin Gabriel versus Darren Young. Antonio Cesaro versus Zack Ryder. Bray Wyatt will be debuting on tonight's Raw, as tweeted the following day. He says, today is the day we'll talk about for 1,000 years. Tick-tock. Hashtag follow the buzzers as their gimmick. WWE has began a new weekly YouTube show called Ranked. R-A-N-K apostrophe D. First episode features Vince McMahon's 50 greatest McMahonisms. And here's the Superstar spoilers for July 11th. Reported by Ideen Baramani of Abingdon, Maryland. R-Truth was on commentary. Justin Gabriel defeated Darren Young. Antonio Cesaro with Zeb Coulter defeated Zack Ryder again. Both matches were basic, 5 to 6 minute matches. Finally, Raw opens up with a vignette for the Wyatt family. Eric Rowan, Luke Harper, and Bray Wyatt, for those that don't know. Obey danger, they're coming. We go to the normal Raw opening video as they did these segments all throughout the night. We go to the ring and Vicky Guerrero waits with Brad Maddox. She welcomes everyone to Raw. They've got a ladder behind them. Vicky talks about what the ladder represents in WWE and brings up names like Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, and Triple H. He says this ladder represents her career with WWE. If she falls, she's blaming it on all the fans. Vicky climbs to the top of the ladder and talks about how she's done her job in a tough environment. Vicky goes on about, but Jerry the King Lawler interrupts her from the announcer's table and steals her own gimmick. Lawler just received a word that the McMahon family are going to be considering any and all factors for her job evaluation tonight, including the opinions of the fans. Fans can get on the WWE app and vote on Vicky's job. Vicky kisses up to the fans and says that They are like her family. Vicky announces that John Cena and Mark Henry will meet face to face in the ring. Also, Christian versus Kane, Randy Orton versus CM Punk, and Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan. And your first matchup was Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan. Bryan came right out with a big pop from the crowd. Cut to a promo for RVD's return before Sheamus makes his way out. As they go to commercial, back from the commercial break, and out came Sheamus. They lock up, and Sheamus takes Bryan to the corner. Sheamus with a headlock takedown. Sheamus with a shoulder block, and then sends Bryan down. They both look up at the Money in the Bank briefcase hanging above the ring. Bryan goes to work on his arm now, more back and forth action. Sheamus fights out of the corner and drops an elbow and a knee. More knees from Sheamus. Sheamus takes Bryan back to the mat and works on his arm. Bryan fights back and kicks Sheamus several times against the ropes. Sheamus comes back to slam Bryan for a 2 count. Bryan runs the ropes, but Sheamus catches him with an Irish curse backbreaker for a 2 count. Sheamus ends up on the floor. Bryan leaps out from the apron, but Sheamus catches him and drops Bryan face first into the fan barrier. Both go down as they go to commercial. Back for the break, and Sheamus has Bryan in a headlock. Bryan fights out. Bryan with uppercuts and kicks in the corner. Bryan then ducks the clothesline, but Sheamus catches him with Irish curse again. 2 count for Sheamus, more back and forth. Another 2 count for Sheamus. Sheamus runs into boots in the corner. Sheamus hits the rolling senton. Bryan dodges the road kick, and Sheamus tumbles over the top rope and out to the floor. Bryan runs and nails a suicide dive through the ropes. Bryan brings it back in the ring and nails a missile drop kick for a 2 count. Bryan with kicks to the chest while Sheamus is on his knees. Bryan misses the last kick, and Sheamus rolls to the apron. Sheamus hits the series of forearms out to the chest. Bryan drops after a big clothesline. Sheamus goes up top, but Bryan cuts him off. Bryan climbs up for a Hurricane Rana, but Sheamus hangs on, and Bryan hits the mat. Sheamus with a battering ram for a 2 count. Sheamus goes for the white noise, but Bryan blocks it and fights out. Bryan sends Sheamus face first into the corner. Bryan with a huge kick to the face for a 2 count. More back and forth. Shortly, Sheamus locks in the clover release submission, but Bryan counters with a roll up for the win. After the match, Bryan and Sheamus met in the middle of the ring and look up at the briefcase. They shake hands, and Sheamus heads to the back while Bryan celebrates. We see a video of a WWE camera crew out in the sticks somewhere looking for the Wyatt family. So someone tells them it's about 2 miles up the road. They look like the moonshine makers of Tennessee area. Yeah, that goes. As they go to commercial. Back for the break, and we see what happened on SmackDown with AJ Lee and Caitlyn. Big E Langston is backstage with AJ. Dolph Ziggler walked into the segment and asked Big E to give him a second alone. Ziggler brought up her not being out there with him on Raw or SmackDown last week. AJ smoothed it over, but Ziggler is interested in only winning the World Heavyweight title back. Got a promo from Mark Henry by video. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns versus Tensai Brodus Clay. The Tons of Funk. Versus The Shield. And we go out to the arena, and out comes WWE Tag Team Champions Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns with Dean Ambrose, who stays in the crowd. The Shield appeared to a pop from the crowd. Rollins and Reigns hit the ring as they go to commercial. Back from the break, Tensai is out with Brodus Clay. Clay starts things out with Seth Rollins, and he takes control. Tensai comes in for a double team. Tensai with a big suplex on Rollins for a 2 count. Clay came back in and kept control of the attack on Rollins. Clay with a big splash in the corner, but he missed a splash on the mat. Reigns came in and hit a big Superman punch on Clay for a pin attempt. More of Reigns in control. Rollins came back in for another pin attempt. Reigns tags back in to keep Clay down in the corner. Reigns takes Clay to the mat. Rollins back in with kicks on Clay in the corner. Reigns and Rollins hit flying shots in the corner, and Clay falls to the mat. 2 count by Roman. As he continues to beat down on Clay, a boring chant starts in the crowd. Got Clay on the shoulders, but Clay slid out. And rolled Reigns up for a 2 count. Play with a big slam on Reigns. Rollins tags in, as does Tensai. Tensai goes to work and unloads on Rollins. He misses in the corner but knocks Rollins across the ring with a shoulder tackle. Tensai with a rolling senton in the corner on Rollins. He runs into a big boot, and Rollins drops him face first into the second turnbuckle. Rollins knocks Clay off the apron. Rollins goes to the top, but Tensai knocks him out of the air. Tensai with a big shot and a 2 count. Rollins with big kicks into the head, but Reigns comes in. Rollins takes Clay out to the floor, and Reigns spears Tensai for the win. Winner of the match sealed. Back from a commercial break, we get another video of the WWE.com reporter looking for the Wyatt family. He pulls up on a big white house with a bunch of junk in the yard. We see Eric Rowan in the backyard chopping wood in his sheep mask. Luke Harper grabs the cameraman and tells him to follow him. They cut back, and I think this was a botch. His partner was not even there. We go to the ring, and out comes WWE Champion John Cena. Cena came out and talks about the crowd being hyped. Mentions it a second time, trying to hype him up some more. He calls out Mark Henry. Out he comes to the ring. Henry says Cena has the same look he had last week. The look of fear. Cena says he isn't afraid. Henry says he should be. Henry said he's starved, and the only one thing that can solve his hunger. And Cena says he must be talking about a Snickers bar. Henry isn't laughing. Henry says he's a new man. He calls Cena a puppet like the fans. Henry says that the WWE title will validate his career. Henry says he will be a first ballot Hall of Famer if he can beat Cena. Henry says he's even sold out his family. Cena says Henry better win it on Sunday then. Cena says Henry has lied to everyone, all for the leather and gold. Cena says Henry will lose the respect of everyone, and 17 years will be gone for nothing if he can't win on Sunday. Henry doesn't care what Cena or the fans think. Henry points out the fans that some fans love Cena and some hate him. Henry threatens Cena for interrupting him. Cena drops the belt and takes off his shirt, getting ready to fight. Henry doesn't want to fight for free. He says he took a 50% pay cut before and doesn't want to lose any money. Henry changed his mind and leveled Cena with a clothesline as John Cena turned around and thought he was leaving. Cena came back and goes for an attitude adjustment, but collapses with all the weight of 350 plus pounds on his shoulders, and Henry nailed the world's strongest slam as they go to replay. Josh Matthews is backstage. Well, I want to make that go back a little bit. This was actually John Cena got up from from the fall and hopped back up into and on Henry's arms. So, that was set up. Josh Matthews backstage with Randy Orton, who asked to actually talk to him. Orton talks about winning Money in the Bank and says if Cena retains on Sunday, but is in a bad state like he just was, Orton won't hesitate to cash in and take the WWE title. And to close out the segment, Josh Matthews thanks Randy Orton for his time. Back from the break, The Miz is now on commentary. Y2J versus Curtis Axel. Unknown if it's a championship match or not. We go to the ring, and out first comes Y2J to a big pop. And we see footage of Ryback quitting last week. Out next comes WWE Intercontinental Champion Curtis Axel with Paul Heyman. Heyman comes out wearing glasses because of the black eye he got from Alberto Del Rio on SmackDown. I must have missed that. Heyman takes his glasses off to reveal a nasty shiner. Heyman isn't here as a martyr for CM Punk. He's here to bask in perfection tonight. Heyman introduces Axel. Axel cuts a promo about Jericho and heads for the ring. Talks about his light bright jacket. The bell rang and they went at it. Axel dropped Jericho first. Jericho came back with a clothesline and sent Jericho out of the ring. Jericho drop kicked Axel through the ropes and worked him over on the barrier. Jericho with a chop as he brought Axel back in the ring. Axel cut him off coming back in and he took back control of the match as we go to commercial. I got me a tea break on this one as I heard the action through my kitchen. Back from the break and they're going at it while Heyman screams at ringside. Lots of back and forth action. Jericho goes for the walls of Jericho, but Axel countered. Jericho with a nice suplex for a 2 count. Axel with a big shot to the back of the head for a 2 count. Jericho hits a crossbody from the top, but Axel kicked out at 2. Axel counters the lion salt with his knee. Axel was up with a swinging neck breaker for a 2 count. As they battle back and forth again, Jericho hits a lion salt, but Axel kicked out at 2 again. Axel blocks the code breaker and drops Jericho on the ropes. Axel with a perfect flex for another close 2 count. Axel with right hand to the back of the head, and Axel shows frustration. Jericho blocked a neck breaker and went for the walls of Jericho, locking it in. Axel makes it to the ropes and breaks the hold. Jericho knocks him off the apron, and Axel hits his face on the announcer's table. The Miz laughs at Axel. They have words, and the Miz gets ready to fight. Axel goes back into the ring, but catches the code breaker for the win. This is Axel's first loss since returning with the name change. So obviously it was a non-title match. Still to come, Punk versus Orton and Christian versus Kane as they go back to commercial. Josh Matthews was backstage with Damian Sandow and Cody Rhodes. I went for another tea break. Refill, in other words. He asked about the Money in the Bank match and their friendship. Sandow tries to speak for Cody when Zeb Colter walks up with Antonio Cesaro as I'm coming back in. And Jack Swagger. Wayne Barrett appears and makes his case for winning on Sunday and their Money in the Bank ladder match. Come on, this one, to me, just set up in one night for their Money in the Bank pay-per-view match. They need to do better to keep everybody updated on their match. Fandango appeared to a big pop and goes to say his name, but several other talent says, "Don't say it. Don't say his name." Trying to say his name, and finally goes for it, and Barrett levels him with a big forearm to the head. Barrett walked off. Cesaro and Swagger came face to face with Rhodes and Sandow. Then we get another video of the WWE reporter trying to catch up with the Wyatt family house. Luke leads them into a room and tells them not to stray. Luke leads the reporter to a room where Bray Wyatt is, and we go to commercial. Not much more than that for that segment. Sin Cara versus Alberto Del Rio. Well, I didn't care for this match anyways. Took a walk outside for a quick breather. Back from the break, and out comes Sin Cara. World Heavyweight Champion Alberto Del Rio was out next for his non-title match. Back and forth to start the match. Cara with some high-flying moves. Del Rio turned it around with shoulder press in the ring. Del Rio charges and misses. Cara with a big Hurricane Rana. Cara goes to the top, but Del Rio kicks him in the back of the head. Cara falls to the mat, and Del Rio covers for a 2 count. More back and forth action. Another big kick by Del Rio, but Cara kept kicking out. Dolph Ziggler's music hits, and out he comes to the stage. Cara rolls up. He distracted Del Rio, but he blocks it and drops Cara. Ziggler walks to the ring and says he feels bad about what he did to Ricardo Rodriguez. And Ziggler mocks Ricardo as he does his own introduction for Del Rio during the match is still going. As Ziggler insults Del Rio, and Del Rio with a big super kick to Cara, Del Rio runs out of the ring and starts brawling with Ziggler. Cara comes leaping off the top and takes out Del Rio onto the floor. Ziggler runs off and taunts Del Rio from the ramp. Miss Pinky Guerrero and Brad Maddox are backstage walking as we go to commercial. Her job evaluation was up next, so I guess the last match was a no compete match. No winner. Well, they went to commercial back from the break, and we see Baltimore Raven Ray Rice sitting behind the announcer table. They show us a video of what happened with Mark Henry and John Cena to start off on the last segment. Miss Vicky Guerrero, and Brad Maddox are on the ring now. The apron is black, and there's a table with 3 empty chairs. Vicky sits on a stool, and Maddox is standing beside her. Out next comes Vince McMahon with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. This table almost looks like a table that they would use for the table breaking in a tables match, but it was a nice and shiny top, just with a black apron around it. Nothing more than that. As the McMahons were sitting in their desk chairs in the ring when they came in. Well, Stephanie spoke first and said that they're here to evaluate Vicky's performance. Stephanie thanks the WWE fans for voting on the WWE app on whether or not Vicky passes or fails. Stephanie lets Vicky speak, and the fans start booing her. Vicky says she always loves the McMahon family and the fans. Vicky talks about some of the things that she's done. She takes credit for inspiring The Undertaker to return at WrestleMania. Stephanie mocks that one. She points out Vicky was also responsible for bringing back Brock Lesnar, who brought Havoc with him. Stephanie says Vicky has to take responsibility for her actions. Stephanie asks Vicky if bringing back Brock was a good idea. Vicky apologizes for Lesnar attacking them, but she didn't know that was going to happen. Vince speaks up and says that was a stroke of genius. Vicky says we can all agree that Vicky is entertaining. He goes on, and Triple H is up next. He admits Vicky can be unintentionally entertaining, but she's horrible at her job. Triple H says that she botched the recent WWE 2K14 reveal on Raw. He says fans boo her every week and it's bad for business. He knows Vince thinks that's entertaining, but it's not. He says Triple H says the fans want and deserve better than Vicky. Vince thinks Vicky should be permanent general manager of Raw. That brings a smile to her face. Triple H speaks up and doesn't agree. He calls Vicky a puppet who strokes Vince's ego every week. Triple H then says we would let Stephanie McMahon decide Vicky's fate. Since she called the meeting, Vince says he has no problem with Daddy's little girl making the decision. Triple H said he has no problem with the mother of his children making the decision. And Vince wants the best for the entertainment, and Triple H wants the best for business. Stephanie says she won't let anyone or anything drive a wedge between her and starts yelling. Stephanie has 2 words for Vicky. You're fired. Vicky drops to her knees and drops the mic, goes into her crying routine. The fans start singing goodbye to her. She pushes Maddox away and starts crying and throwing a fit on the mat. Vicky crawls to the desk and begs the McMahons. It's not even a desk, it's a table. Vicky gets up on the table and continues throwing a fit and yelling. Vicky takes the mic and asks if people are happy. Vince said fans have broken Vicky's heart. Vince then says Vicky didn't fail. Each and every fan just failed. Vince says Vicky could have been the most entertaining general manager of all time. Vince says we need a new general manager of Raw, and the people deserve this. Vince names Brad Maddox as the new GM of Raw. As Brad is looking surprised, Vicky starts screaming again. Vince escorts Vicky out of the ring as she's still crying, and Maddox looks shocked as he's following. Vince puts his jacket and suit coat around Vicky and helps her to the back. And Brad Maddox follows as we go to commercial. Back from the break, and Vicky is still crying in Vince's arms about how she loves her job. Vince says he's going to make it right somehow. Maddox walks up and apologizes to Vicky for what happened. He thanks Vince and says he won't regret the decision. Maddox keeps his hand extended, but Vince doesn't shake it. Maddox says that he's going to pick up where Vicky left off. Vince asks how long is Maddox going to keep his hand out like that. Vicky attacks Maddox out of nowhere and starts hitting him, and he just cowers down. Because a real man knows never hit a woman. He has to take his jacket back from Vicky and leaves her crying. And next up, we get Kane versus Christian. We go to the ring. Out first comes Kane. Christian was out next to a nice pop. They locked up, and Kane takes it to the corner. They break, and Christian gets the crowd to clap. They find in the corner, Christian mounts Kane with the right hand. Kane whips Christian hard into the corner, and he goes down, back and forth. Kane misses an elbow drop. Kane grabs Christian by the throat and shoves him back into the corner. Kane scoots Christian for a slam, but he slides out to the apron and drops Kane over the rope. Christian with a shoulder off the second rope for a 1 count. Christian with a kick to the head. Christian with a roll up from the second rope, but Kane blocked it. Christian dropped Kane into the middle rope and choked him with it. Christian leaped out to the floor with a big right hand. Kane goes to press Christian, but he slid out and sent Kane to the floor. Christian goes to the top and leaps out with a big splash, taking Kane completely out as they go to commercial. Back from the break, and we get Christian dropping Kane with a tornado DDT for a 2 count. Christian gets a clap going again, which is normally setting up for his kill switch. Kane runs over him with a big boot. And Kane goes up top, but misses the big right hand. Christian goes for a spear, but Kane choke slams him for the win. After the match, Kane looks up at the briefcase as his music plays. Bray Wyatt appears on the big screen. He's rocking in a chair with a lantern, just like they do with their vignettes. He talks about how people are sheep and need to be led. Bray says it's time for the masses to wake up and see the lie that they're living in. He goes on and says this is not the beginning, it's the end. The lantern goes out, and the lights go out in the arena, and he strikes a match, lighting it again. And we see them coming to on the stage with his partners Eric Rowan and Luke Harper in the shadows. Bray says, "We're here." His music hits, and here they come, marching into the arena, lantern in hand while the lights are out. Lights come on, and Kane gets a beat down from Harper and Rowan as they're in the ring. He fights them off and sends Harper to the floor. We see Bray watching from a rocking chair on the ramp. Harper pulls Kane to the floor and then takes control back, sending him into the steel steps. They unload on Kane and hit him with half of the steps as they took him apart. Rowan had trouble getting the steps up and waited for Harper to assist with him. Was what it looked like. And Bray walked over, dropped to his knees, and poses in front of Kane with Rowan and Harper as they go to commercial as the crowd chants for Husky Harris. Missing in Husky Harris' name. Back from the break, and we see Vicky Guerrero walking backstage with her belongings. That was the previous segment. Was very disappointing to me because they wasn't having any enthusiasm in their beatdown on Kane. All they did was like, okay, well, I'm into the ring steps, and that was it. Well, to me, there's no impact on that segment. I mean, if you're going to do something and make it big. There's nothing big in that. Well, after that, the break, when we get Vicky Guerrero walking backstage with her belongings, Ryback has her stop, takes her belongings, sets them down, and Ryback offers a hug and says she deserves better. And basically picks her stuff back up, hands it to her, and that was it for that segment. AJ Lee and Alicia Fox were up next versus Caitlyn and Layla in tag team action. Not much to this match at all. The Bella Twins were on commentary. As the WWE Divas champion AJ Lee come out with her partner Alicia Fox. Caitlyn was out next with Layla. Layla and Alicia started things off, back and forth action until Caitlyn attacked. Caitlyn ended up spraying AJ out on the floor and unloading on her before they're separated. Heck, I didn't even remember hearing a ring bell, though the match to me never even started. And it just ended there, and they went to the back. CM Punk was backstage with Josh Matthews talking about Randy Orton and the Money in the Bank, where Punk says he will grab the briefcase for an unprecedented third time. Punk said he's the best in the world in the segment. So we got Punk versus Orton up next. We go to the ring out first as Randy Orton as the briefcase hangs high above the ring as they go to commercial break. A very long break. Back for the break, and out comes CM Punk. They lock up and they go to the corner, lots of back and forth with dueling fan chants to start the match. Orton with a big drop kick and some stomps on Punk. Punk turns around in the corner with knees. Punk drops Orton for a 2 count. Orton brings Punk back in from the apron, but counters with a draping DDT. Punk sends Orton out to the floor with a drop kick. Punk leaps out with a suicide dive and takes Orton out. Both men are down as they go to a commercial. Back from the break, Orton is in control with a headlock. Orton with a T-bone suplex for a close 2 count. Lots of back and forth again. Punk rolled through a pin, but Orton kicked out at 2. Punk with a neck breaker and another 2 count. Punk nailed the big elbow drop and gets the crowd hyped. Orton blocked the GTS and they both go down. Punk blocked the RKO and back and forth continued. Punk nails another high knee in the corner. Punk goes for the GTS. Orton fought out of it. Punk blocked a RKO with a big kick to the face, and which was nothing but a super kick. And that's it. Pinfall. After the match, Punk was celebrating when Daniel Bryan attacked him, threw him over the ropes and into the ring post. Bryan goes under the ring and brings out the ladder that started off the show, already in the ring. Bryan runs over Orton with the ladder in the ring. Bryan sets the ladder up and climbs up for the briefcase. Bryan's music hits as he celebrated and does the orgasm chant with the briefcase as Raw goes off the air. Well, after Raw went off the air, John Cena and CM Punk had a brief stare down. After Raw went off the air, to me, he's like, okay. Must have been a backstage segment or whatever. And then Cena went on to beat Ryback in a tables match to retain the WWE Championship in the Dark Match main event, which was a tables match. And then Cena, then after the match, went to the behind the announcer table to greet Baltimore Ravens running back Ray Rice after the match. And that concludes my report for this week. Thanks again. Peace out.